Today, I'm going to be talking about Alderya Therapeutics. They are currently sat at $5.32 and have a market cap of just over $300 million. They have two end-stage indications for eye diseases, and they are looking to branch out using their RASP platform. Today, I'm going to be looking at the bull points and bear points for this company, and at the end, I'm going to take a look at their stock price and discuss where I think that might be going. Also, stick around to hear the catalyst because we've got some important ones coming up this year. So to understand Alderya, we first have to talk about the RASP platform. RASP stands for reactive aldehyde species, and these molecules attach to proteins often associated with pro-inflammatory processes. And the reason why that is important is included here in their Investors Day presentation. We can see here the number of indications that this can be applied to, and this provides a significant opportunity for Alderya. So let's go and take a look at what they're trying to apply it to first. Now these are ordered how I think they are most important, so it may surprise you that I think ALDX 2191 is more important than Reproxalap. And I'll go into that in a bit more detail in a moment, but first I'll take you through what ALDX 2191 is. Now this is actually outside of the RASP platform, but they've put a chemo drug into a solution which they are injecting into the eye, and this is to fight the disease retinitis pigmentosa. Now this is currently in phase 3 and the results are expected before the end of the year. As you can see here, another ball point I've put to this is that it has the orphan drug designation. And with nearly all other orphan drugs, these sell for a lot of money. And on top of that, they are saying there's a 1 million patient population around the world. So I actually think this has the potential to move the needle for this stock much more this year than any other piece of news. Unfortunately, as we'll get into a bit later on, the management don't actually provide a lot of information that I would expect to see from a biotech company. So unfortunately, I can't say what they anticipate the market potential for this drug to be. So next down in the list is the Reproxalap. And this is what's getting the most media attention at the moment. So this and ALDX 2191 are part of the RASP platform, and it's targeting dry eye and allergic conjunctivitis. Now there's quite a bit of backstory to this because it's already been rejected by the FDA. However, they did say it's just because they needed more information about the efficiency of this treatment. Now the big USP for this drug is that it's fast acting. So all other treatments on the market at the moment take between 4 to 6 weeks to act. And in the trials, this is shown to react in under 100 minutes. In fact, Alderya thinks it will just take a few minutes to act. Of course, this is going to be a significant USP for this company. One of the bare points I would point out though is that the previous lead drug in this market is now a generic. This might mean that organizations will try to hand out the generic drug first in order to save money. However, I think because of the stark difference between the timings that this won't be too much of an issue. A big thing I would like to talk about though is the AbbVie partnership. And to be honest, I wasn't sure whether to put this into the bull points or the bear points. But I guess overall, for the position that they were in, I think this is probably a bull point for Alderya. However, we need to talk this through in more detail. So what they have agreed to do is to give AbbVie a 60-40% partnership. That will mean that AbbVie will take 60% of the costs, but they will also take 60% of the profits. And on top of this, give up to $300 million of milestone payments. To exercise these options, they will also pay an additional $100 million. Now, when AbbVie agreed to this partnership, they only had to pay $1 million. And to me, this seems like the worst part of the deal. Basically, AbbVie had to make no commitment whatsoever, and they only have to fork up the money when they know there's going to be a lot of gain in it for them. I think that Alderya could have made a much better view here. And actually, one of the authors from Seeking Alpha made a really good point. Why did they not just wait until they got the acceptance? That $1 million wasn't going to make any difference whatsoever. Perhaps they thought by having the big backing of AbbVie, they were more likely to get past the FDA. Anyway, the deal is now done, and it does mean they are going to be able to launch this product easily. And not only that, they will have access to all of AbbVie's resources. So hopefully they can get this to peak sales much quicker than they would have been able to do alone. The upside from this is going to be severely restricted though, and this is why I don't think it's quite as important for the company as ALDX 2191. And again, with market potential, Alderya haven't been clear about how much they think this drug is going to be worth. However, Restasys was taking in $1 billion peak sales each year, so that would leave $400 million for Alderya. So going back to the main list, the final thing that I wanted to point out is that this is a very lean company. This is actually really impressive how many drugs they have in the pipeline and yet how little they're spending each quarter. They're currently only losing around $10 million per quarter. I've seen other companies with less trials losing over $50 million a quarter, so this is really quite impressive for this company. So this leads us on to the bear points. And my biggest bear point here is the lack of transparency for this company. And I've really not seen anything like it from a company of this size before. So they've actually stopped their quarterly reports, which is such a big thing, of course, for the shareholders. Not only that, but it looks like they've even stopped their annual reports. Obviously, they're still releasing their 10Ks, but they are just not giving shareholders any new information. In fact, the only information that they do seem to be giving shareholders are press releases about good news for the company, or bad news for the company that they legally have to disclose. Now, for me, this makes me lose a lot of trust for this company. Now, one of the big things that I didn't like is that they had an application with the FDA for ALDX 2191. This was for a different indication, vitreoretinal lymphoma. However, beforehand with their news releases, they are very positive about the future of this. However, when the FDA reviews their application, they provided no new information after this about what they are going to be doing next or whether they've dropped it. Obviously, for a shareholder, this is going to make it very difficult for you to make decisions about what you should do with your shares. As someone that doesn't believe too much in technical analysis, I like to buy and sell stocks depending on the news. I hope they change this in the near future and start doing quarterly reports once more. Finally, in the bear list, is that the funding is quite reliant at the moment on Reproxalab. Now, it looks like they have plenty of money to complete the trials, but if for some reason Reproxalab wasn't accepted, then they're going to find it very difficult to launch any of their other drugs. And for that, they're going to have to find funding either from loans or share dilution. So in summary of the bull points and the bear points, I think this company has a lot of opportunity ahead. However, it certainly doesn't come without its risks. Moving on to the catalysts. As mentioned before, I think the big thing here is the phase 3 data for ALDX 2191, and that should be coming before the end of the year. I really think that this has the potential to move the stock price a lot, much more than the FDA review acceptance on Reproxalab, which is what a lot of people are waiting for at the moment. Of course, I could be wrong here, but if I were a shareholder, it's definitely the ALDX 2191 data that I'd be looking forward to. And finally, they have the FDA decision on Reproxalab coming sometime early next year. So in the next 6 months, there's some really big catalysts for this company. And from the data that we're getting from the management, it looks like these could be positive. However, do bear in mind that the management have been positive before and not had the results that they desired. So taking a look at the stock price, it's moved a lot in the last year. It's over tripled in price. So it's been on a very good run. But the market cap is still just over $300 million. Now, if the FDA do approve the application, I wouldn't be surprised to see an uptick from here. But as I mentioned before, I think the really big news is for the RDX 2191. If that comes out with some positive phase 3 data before the end of the year, I really think we could see a multi-bagger here. So that's what I'm looking forward to most for this company. I definitely think there's reward here to be had if you want to take the risk. For me, I'm waiting for some catalysts in the nearer term in some of my other stocks, but if they go well, I very well might be buying some stocks in Alderya later in the year. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'd love to see you over at Ticker Taco.